morning. Today's our topic is journey of first 1,000 days. As we all know that the first 2 years of the life in the baby's life is very crucial. The brain development happens till 2 years of the age of the life of a baby. And this is a program which has been introduced by the government of the Gujarat approximately 1.5 year back, and they are improving all the facilities to be compliant with the first 1,000 days of the journey. So, in the early years, beginning from the preconceptional period till 2 years of the age, it is known as the journey of the first 1,000 days, play a key role in the child's brain development. It is considered the most important phase in the life, laying the foundation of the physical, emotional and intellectual well-being. The investment made during this period leads a 48 times higher return, which includes a positive birthing experience during this period, which includes the factors like avoidance of the stress, a good nutrition, regular antenatal visit, a respectful maternity care, a birth companion, avoiding augmentation or induction of the labor unless it is medically indicated, early initiation of the breastfeeding, and skin-to-skin contact. It is essential to have a healthy child with an optimal physical, mental and the social development. So it is nothing new which we are not doing. We were doing all these things in our antenatal management, but this is with a certain more precision and giving a stress on all these factors. So the guidelines is available to guide the facility for the activities to be done with the regards of the journey of the first 1,000 days, and the guideline have been created after the state level consultation, including the experts from the UNICEF, Samhita Mode of India and the Srimad Rajchandra Mission, Dharampur. The entire process was carried out under the guidance of Dr. Arun Singh, who is a national advisor for the RBSK program and Ministry of the Health and Family Welfare, and he himself is a pediatrician, having much of an interest in the development. So the objective of these guidelines include, it is to guide the facility in charge to development of the activity under the journey of the first 1,000 days, and to guide the program officer to facilitate the implementation of the journey of the first 1,000 days in the facility, and it provides a monitoring tool to the program officer and the facility in charge to review the implementation of the various components. So, how the first 1,000 days compliant facilities differ from our routine obstetrics and gynec OPD and the labor room facility. So, we involve a multi-facet approach, and the various departments involved in this is the Department of Obstetrics and Gynec, Department of Pediatrics, Department of Pathology, Transfusion Medicine, Radiology and PIU. Then there are certain service provision criteria for the implementation. One is first thing included is a planning of pregnancy. As we all know, majority of the pregnancy in India is unplanned. So establishment of a family counseling unit for the newly married couple. The structure is the unit may be merged with the adolescent health clinic, or a separate unit is being formed. As we know, we are running the adolescent health clinic, so along with that we should start a family counseling unit also for the married couple. Then human resources includes the adolescent health counselor and RMNCH counselor. A separate counselor may be appointed under the state budget. A dentist and a physiotherapist to get involved in the activities of the counseling and management of the various other problems like periodontal problems, and the physiotherapist is to guide the antenatal and the postnatal exercises. Involvement of the dietitian working with the NRC and CMTC whenever it is required. Then the activities include counseling on a different aspect of the family planning methods, the planning of the pregnancy, diet, exercise, yoga, vaccination, healthy habits, and the prenatal joint commitment for the caring and the development of a child. And this is very important. We have to rule out certain medical problems also in supposingly, for example, if we say the mother is diabetic, we need a good diabetic control before she becomes pregnant, otherwise it leads to lots and lots of complications. Like someone is having chronic hypertension, also some renal problem, or someone having a previous baby with the neural tube defect. So the family planning, pre-planning counseling is very much important, which has been an integral part, but it should be not like patients are not very keen to coming for a prenatal counseling. So this is one of the component which is to be included in this. Then the holistic health checkup, a counseling of the emotional health and the mental health as well as the environment at the home. Then after the prenatal counseling comes the antenatal care. So signages are at the main door of the location of the antenatal clinic in the hospital. This is a signage of our hospital which shows the direction. The different color strip should be drawn on the floor to guide the pregnant woman to the different areas as shown in picture. The color strip should be drawn as per the guidance given below. Like the labor room, which has a color coding of green strip, lab has a red strip, sonography is a yellow strip, SNCU and NICU is a pink strip, and OPD ANC clinic is a white strip. So this helps the patient to guide where to go. Like we all encounter many a times patient asking, where is the labor room located? OPD ક્યાં છે? NICU મારે ક્યાં જવાનું? So this is a very nice way to guide કે બેન તમે બ્લુ લાઇનને ફોલો કરતા કરતા જાઓ તમને મળી જશે, અથવા તો તમને લેબોરેટરીમાં બ્લડ આપવાનું છે, રેડ લાઇનને ફોલો કરો તમે ત્યાં પહોંચી જશો. So this is one of the good initiative, a color coding. The nursing student are to be placed as a helper to escort the pregnant woman from the main door. The nursing student can counsel the pregnant woman on the different aspect of 1000 days during the interaction in general and the waiting area. The escort by the nursing student will ensure that the pregnant woman complete all the tests and examinations. A separate window for registration of a pregnant woman and a token system may be used at the registration window to make it clutter-free. As we all know, all the government hospitals are having very much of a rush, and there is so much rush in the general OPD waiting area registration. So we can work out on this. A separate waiting room come a knowledge sharing room for a pregnant woman with the facility. An adequate number of chairs should be there in the waiting area. TV and LCD display of the audiovisual of the information, education and communication material should be available so they can have some knowledge about their antenatal care and postnatal care and family planning while they are there in the waiting area. Then there should be a facility for the RO water. Adequate ventilation and window with a mosquito net should be there. Counselor or the nursing student to counsel the pregnant woman, and display of the IEC material. There should be colorful paintings on the wall. A soft music should be played. A food demonstration and the concept of the flavor is to be preached, and refreshment should be available in the OPD because it takes a little long time in a heavy rush to OPD. So many of the people feel faint and giddy. So there should be a facility for refreshments also. A cradle for the babies for the mother who are visiting postnatally. So this is a suggested layout of the waiting area, how it should be there. In front, there should be the waiting chairs and the sofas. The table, there should be then tables for the counselors, chair for the counselor. There is an area of the water and refreshment. There should be a separate cradle room, a feeding area for the feeding mothers. There should be a music system. All the resources material should be available and to be displayed. So a separate room for condition, and there should be a separate room for the condition-specific counseling of a high-risk pregnant woman. A pregnant woman with the conditions, medical conditions like gestational diabetes, pregnancy-induced hypertension, moderate to severe anemia, malnutrition, they need special counseling. So adequate resources material of the IEC should be available in these high-risk rooms also. Then the antenatal examination. In the antenatal examination room, we should provide a respectful antenatal care. The adequate privacy should be provided. No verbal and physical abuse should be there. Ask and answer all the concerned questions of a mother. There should be a clutter-free antenatal clinic. One pregnant woman to be allowed at a time for examination. The antenatal clinic to be run by the midwives or trained nurses. The high-risk cases to be seen by the doctors. This is a model which has been followed in many of our foreign countries like UK. They have a different labor room, which is a midwife-led labor room, and there is a Other high-risk labor room which is run by an obstetrician. All the high-risk patients in the OPD also are to be referred to the gynecologist, and all the low-risk patients are to be examined by midwives. So we also started a midwife-led labor room, and this is a very good program which has been introduced by a government and running successfully. Okay, so midwives are trained, and trained nurses can run this low-risk antenatal clinic also. High-risk cases must be seen by doctor. The antenatal companion must be allowed and involved in all the procedures and conversations, because they are the main person who are taking care of the mother at the home. So this is the design of the antenatal examination room. There should be a hand washing area, the equipment tray and trolley, a history taking table with the chairs for the doctor, for the patient, her relative, companion, and there should be a separate examination table which has been separated by a curtain. Okay. So antenatal should have the layout according to this. All the procedure must be explained to the pregnant woman before doing it. Explain if the procedure is going to bring any unpleasant feeling or pain. Allow the antenatal companion to be with her during the examination if she wishes so. The concept of one-step all ANC services. All the ANC services to be provided at one step or with minimum difficulties to a pregnant woman. Ensure that the blood and urine collection with the antenatal clinic for all the blood and urine test. If not possible, the pregnant woman should face the minimal difficulties to get the lab test done. The example is a color line, step to guide her to the laboratory, nursing student to escort the mother to the laboratory. A physiotherapist to teach the exercise to the pregnant patient with the antenatal clinic. Also involve the ICTC counselor and the nutritional assistants. Then comes the oral care. Periodontal infection is associated with the low birth weight and the preterm delivery, as we all know. All the pregnant women should undergo a dental checkup and appropriate management. A dental checkup should be integrated part of the antenatal checkup, and all the pregnant women must undergo a dental checkup during the first trimester and after that whenever it is required. Then ultrasonography of all the pregnant women to be done between 18 to 19 weeks. This is our standard anomaly scan. All the facility must strive to provide the ultrasound service to a pregnant woman during the 18 and 19 weeks of the pregnancy for detection of any fetal anomalies, estimation of the gestational age, evaluation of the placental position, any anomalies, and assessment of the cervical canal and the internal os diameter. The first trimester scan is very important as far as the gestational age estimation is concerned, but the second trimester is most important to rule out the anomaly. And as we all know, our MTP law permits the termination till 20 weeks of the pregnancy. So it is must completed before that, so that if there is any anomaly which is incompatible with life, we can take step accordingly. So any woman who is found with the anomalies must be counseled and provided services accordingly. The radiology service should be provided in close proximity to the antenatal clinic. Whenever it is possible, a separate section may be allotted to the pregnant woman if possible, so they should be given a priority. A rule of the PCPNDT must be followed strictly, and the boards are to be displayed in the facility. Then comes the diagnosis and management of the various high-risk conditions and the screening of that. So first is the diagnosis and management of the gestational diabetes mellitus. GDM is affect approximately 14% of the pregnant women in India. So presence of the GDM may lead any adverse event in the mother and child. As we all know, there are certain complications which are very common in the mother who is diabetic, like preeclampsia, prolonged labor, obstructed labor because of the macrosomia, still birth, then in the baby, intrauterine death, multiple congenital malformation like there are n numbers like neural tube defect, like cardiac anomalies, tetralogy of Fallot, VSD, ASD. There are multiple. So the facility must offer a timely screening and management of the GDM to all the pregnant patients to avoid the adverse effect. As per the national guideline, each pregnant woman must go under oral GTT at the first contact, and then between 24 to 28 weeks if the first test is negative. So it is 2 times testing. One is at the first contact and second is at the 24 to 28 weeks if the first test is normal. Then here we give the pregnant woman 75 gram of the glucose diluted in 300 ml of the water, and the blood glucose is then checked after 2 hours, a single time testing. If it is more than 140 milligram per deciliter, then she is diagnosed having a gestational diabetes. Considering a 2-hour duration between the ingestion of the glucose and checking of the blood sugar, each pregnant woman should be given a glucose dissolved in a water in the waiting room area. So during her antenatal visit, in the same visit, she is being screened. So she has no need to come for the second time. A facility should ensure the training of all the service providers in the screening of GDM as per the national guideline. And GDM positive must be given the appropriate counseling about the nutrition therapy, metformin or insulin in whatever according to her blood sugar level which is required as per guideline. Okay, so this was a extra screening. The other routine stuff what we are doing, this hemoglobin, blood group, HIV, HbSAg, VDRL, RPR, okay, that is to be done. That is to be repeated as per required. The other antenatal care is as per guideline. This is one extra thing that we introduce the screening for GDM. So we have covered it. Then comes the interpartum care. The signages at the main door for the exact location of the labor room should be displayed. A nursing student to help and escort the woman in the labor room in pain from the main door. The availability of wheelchair and stretcher should be available. Start the management before the case paper. Many of the facilities have a case paper to be issued to be printed out from the HMIS system in the labor room itself. The contingency plan for the street delivery should be there if required. The now about the labor room. So labor delivery unit has a compulsory there are 2 types of the labor room. One is a conventional one. In all the older facility, the labor rooms are in the conventional manner. But now we are promoting a labor delivery unit. Okay, so if it is a new construction, then LDR labor room should be planned, and whenever it is possible, it can be the conventional should be renovated so to match with the LDR. A separate gate should be there, and the corridor of the labor room of the new complex. No direct entry in the labor room. The wall should be soundproof. There should be attached washroom. A colorful paintings to be displayed in the labor room. Avoid the bright lights. Avoid noise. There should be a proper temperature control, as we know the newborns are very susceptible to hypothermia. So, a proper airflow and ventilation should be there. Then there should be a respectful maternity care. Orient the pregnant woman and the birth companion about the different stages of the labor and do's and don'ts. The adequate privacy is to be maintained. No verbal and physical abuse should be there. Space for the mother to walk. Allow the birth companion and guide to educate and involve them in the birth companionship. Allow the delivery in whatever position of patient's choice. Teach the breathing techniques. About the different positions in the delivery, routinely, conventionally, we were doing the delivery in the supine lithotomy position, but there are various other positions of the delivery like squatting, upright, all 4 positions which are very good. Okay, so the patient are to be taught and to be educated about the different positions in the antenatal period also. There are ISC material of these different positions are to be displayed in labor room also. We will see all this in later slides. Then there should be a soft soothing music. Help and assist the mother in the personal care and the movements. Avoid unnecessary movement of the caregivers, so to avoid the infection from inside out. No mobiles inside the labor room. No videography or photography inside the labor room, and provide the mother's gown. Delivery position is of patient's choice. Modern birthing furniture should be there in the labor room. Orient the service provider in the different birthing positions. There should be adequate space if the mother wants to deliver in a sitting position. There should be a facility for the underwater delivery. Avoid the direct pushing. Use pantograph Lithotomy or supine position is the most commonly what we were following previously. However, from the physiological aspect, the ideal position in which human should give birth is upright or squatting position. As we know, because supine position causes compression over the aorta by the gravity uterus, it hampers the blood supply. Squatting is also known to be beneficial in reducing the back pain, supporting the fetal oxygenation, and can facilitate the rotation of the baby through the birth canal. The upright birthing positions are also associated with a lower rate of the forceps and vacuum delivery and the assisted birth and the low rate of the episiotomy. Encouraging the woman to the labor and the birth in upright position, alternative furniture and the equipment should be there, like the birthing stool, the ball, rope should be provided, and encourage the woman to adapt in the non-supine positions. This is a photograph of a labor room which is having the tub for the underwater delivery. This is how the chair for the delivery in the sitting position. This is ball and rope delivery. Okay, so the patient can hold this rope and can during the bearing down effort. This is how the labor delivery room unit looks like. The facility should be necessarily modified in the labor room to accommodate all this furniture and allow the different birthing positions. Make the woman aware about the different birthing positions. The poster should be displayed with the pictures on the of these different positions, which help in her birthing experience. The TV and LCD screen should show a video of the different birthing positions, and the facility should do the necessary modification in the labor room if required. There is no elective induction and augmentation of the labor. Okay, we all know till the end, like the maximum neuronal connections are happening till 39 weeks of the pregnancy. So there should no elective induction and augmentation. It is associated with many adverse events to the mother and fetus. There is an increased risk of postpartum hemorrhage and fetal distress and perinatal mortality. The induction and augmentation should only be performed when there is a clear medical indication and the expected benefit outweighs the potential harm to the patient. The facility should have the policy to monitor the use of the oxytocin for the induction and the augmentation of the labor. Facility should keep record for the induction and augmentation. Have the review also about the induction. And as per the national guidelines, the uterotonics and the induction should not be done before 41 weeks unless it is medically indicated. Okay, we all know we are calling if they are medically low risk patient at the 40 weeks, if not delivered, we are doing amniotic fluid assessment and the NST. And if both of these are within normal limit, we are calling the patient after 3 days to the follow-up, and again we assess AFI and NST. If again normal, we can again call the patient after 3 days at 41 weeks, and till then she is not delivered, then the labor is to be induced. Yes, if there is any complications or medical high risk factor, we can intervene accordingly. Likewise, augmentation should only be performed if there is an inadequate uterine activity. Okay. Induction and augmentation should only be done in the institute where the facility of the cesarean section available, because as we all know, it increases the chances of fetal distress. Avoid unnecessary cesarean section. As per the statistics, cesarean sections are increasing in India currently. There are many states which are having the LACS rate of 30% or more. So C-section is to be avoided in many adverse events for the mother and the baby, such as a high rate of the bleeding, birth asphyxia, transient tachypnea of the newborn, NICU admission, and the longer duration of the stay to the hospital. This is the statistics which is showing the incidence, the percentages of the LACS in various states of India. Okay. And we know that it is increasing day by day. The facility should monitor and review the planned cesarean section before 37 weeks and between 37 to 40 weeks on the monthly basis. And reason for these should be analyzed and to be initiated necessary corrective measures if there is any problem. There should be a cesarean section audit, and the indications are to be mentioned according to the modified options criteria. Then about the midwifery-led labor room, the facility should aim for running the ANC clinic and labor room by midwives. All the pregnant women coming to the medical college must go to the midwife-led labor room first, and only the cases which are not managed by the midwife should be referred to the obstetrician. The midwife-led labor room will help the mother to deliver in alternate birthing positions and with a respectful maternity care. Then coming to the postnatal care, there should be availability of pediatrician. Hospitals should have the policy that the pediatrician should come in each and attend each and every delivery. If not possible, ensure the availability of the birth attendant trained in the newborn resuscitation. Then about the physiological cord clamping. There are certain studies which have shown that umbilical cord blood flow continues even 4 to 5 minutes after the birth, and this extra time helps to transfer much of the needed oxygen to the newborn during the transition from the intrauterine to the extrauterine life. Other benefits are the high level of the ferritin later in the life, less intraventricular hemorrhages, less necrotizing enterocolitis. If the cord is cut immediately after birth, this leads to hemodynamic instability and shock-like condition. So the cord should be cut only after hemodynamic stability is being achieved. The umbilical cord should be cut only after cessation of the pulse unless there is a perinatal asphyxia. The newborn should be put on the mother's breast. The breast covering should be encouraged. All the service providers should sensitize about this, and timing of the umbilical cord cutting should be recorded. Zero separation. The baby should be put on the mother's abdomen immediately after. After dying, the baby should be put on mother's breast for the initiation of breastfeeding. Ensure no separation of the mother from the baby unless it is required, like if the baby is asphyxiated. Mother and baby should be transferred together in the ward SNCU or NICU. Avoid unnecessary referral to SNCU. Educate and involve the mother and birth companion about the early initiation of breastfeeding. Put the baby on mother's breast. Skin-to-skin contact, KMC is to be encouraged. No prelacteal feed and ensure appropriate diet to the mother. Do not use the radiant warmer for the routine care. Availability of the hammock shift cradles should be available. Gown for the mother and the clothes for the baby should be provided. No unnecessary referral to SNCU. Delayed cord clamping is to be practiced. Ship the mother and baby together. Screen the baby for any viable birth defect. Give the birth vaccine before the discharge, that is OPV, hepatitis B and BCG. Respectful care in the postnatal ward. The ward should have a colorful painting. Cleanliness and hygiene is to be maintained. Attached clean washroom should be there. Soft music should be played in that area. Proper privacy is to be maintained. The counseling is to be done about the breastfeeding, newborn baby care, about the diet, everything, about the family planning. TV, LCD player and IC material should be there. Measure the head circumference of the newborn at birth and at the regular interval. This is as a to study the development of the baby, whether it is proper or not. Then special care and immunization. Give the preference to the newborn for care in the OPD. Immunization clinic should be separate. Special newborn care unit should be there. Create a comforting environment for the newborn. Avoid light and noise. Telephone should be outside that. Mobile phone should not be allowed or in a silent mode. No unnecessary movement or talking by the care provider. No unnecessary medications. Allow involvement of the mother in the routine care of the newborn. And all babies in SNCU must be seen by DEIC pediatrician. Establish the mother newborn care unit as per the Government of India guideline. Establish the breastfeeding room near immunization clinic. Knowledge sharing and waiting room should be there near the immunization clinic. Adequate facility for the water and washroom should be there. Colorful painting, TV, LCDs, all this should be here also. Food demonstration should be there. Check the development of the milestone at each visit of the baby. Measure the head circumference, height and weight during each visit. Follow-up of the SNCU discharged babies in the clinic for up to 2 years. So this includes all which is required for the first 1000 days of journey, which all we are doing with a little bit of the modification. Thank you for your listening.